Yes. Imperial Joff coming at you with a movie review. One of my favorite movies called Wildstyle, written and directed by Charlie Ahern, starring Fab Freddy, and a host of 1981 All-Stars. This movie takes place in New York City, the birthplace of hip-hop, in the Bronx, uptown. There's a lot of lovely things going on with this movie. First of all, it's the very first movie made in the hip-hop category. This is the rawest depiction of the hip-hop culture as it started in the early beginnings. As you could tell, not many people have heard about this movie. It's not a movie that gets played every year like the movies that came out afterwards. Well, mainly because it was a low budget film. But the essence of the film, you see the real, it captures the essence of what was going on in the year of 1981. The movie is mainly about the element of hip-hop that really doesn't get talked about that much, and that's the graffiti art, the graffiti writing. Trains back in the day were used as canvases. There was a lot of trains. You couldn't see a train going through New York City without the burners. That's what they call the murals. They call them burners. And the tags. Real classic. There was different times in the early 70s and the 80s, all the way to like the early 90s. Trains were tagged up. You made your mark. And this movie depicts that. You got Lee Quinones as the main protagonist in the film. He plays Zorro, an introverted graffiti artist that's famous throughout the city. His main mark was the Zorro, the character Zorro. He drew down the train. But if you really take the essence of it, it's really the introduction of Jean-Michel Basquiat. He was the inspiration of the film. Loosely. Not exactly or anything like that, but in real life, it was Basquiat who actually made the very first one to make the transition from street art to legitimized art. Like I said, the movie starring Fab Freddy. He's the reason why this movie came out. So this movie is more like a documentary, more to say, a scripted documentary. And there's only one actor in this movie. Only one actor. It's Patty Astor. And she's famous in her own right. She's like the white hero in these black movies. You always have to have the white hero. She is the white hero. She plays a columnist that goes to document the street arts. She meets up with the rival gang of Zorro and his partner Zephyr. They call him Big Z. He actually made the real murals that they use. It was inspired by him, his arts. So you have a slew of rappers, MCs, that weren't, the standardized, glamorized, popular rappers of today. These guys didn't go platinum, but they inspired the whole generation of other rappers coming in. So the main rapper that gets showcases the chief rocker Busy B. He's the solo artist. He's the man. He's the crowd motivator, and he's featured throughout the whole movie. Then you have a love interest by the name of Lady Pink. Her name is Rose in the film, and she plays an influential role because in real life she became a real life artist. So does the main protagonist, Lee Quinones. They're all famous artists now. born from the graffiti arts. So this movie accomplished what it was supposed to. It was basically a depiction of real life in the real settings with real people. So this song that you hear in the background, this is pretty much the theme song of the movie. It plays throughout the movie. It plays in the beginning, in the middle, and the end. It's a real fun tune. Grandmaster Caz is in the movie, along with the Cold Crush Brothers. And you have Grand Wizard Theodore, who was pretty much the featured DJ. He DJs throughout the club that Fab Five Freddy's run. Fab Five Freddy's name in the movie is Fade. He goes by Fade. He's the club manager, the party promoter, just the all-around organizer of what is going on in the movie. And you got special guests by Grandmaster Flash in a non-speaking role, where he's on the turntable, showing you turntablism for the first time in world history. It was the world premiere of turntablism, and it's just him, Fab Five Freddy, in the living room, while he's in the kitchen cutting up and scratching records, and they show flashes of the Rocksteady crew practicing for the big show. So it's like a conglomerate of the superstars of 1981 all coming together. The art is the main focus of the film. When you see Patty Astor come in, her character's name is Virginia. She takes the main protagonist and Fab Five Freddy to a downtown scene where you have, real art curators, real art representation from the Caucasian side, and basically giving them the pitch of a new style of art. And you can see the racial tension, because in those days graffiti was considered vandalism. So you could imagine that they're not down with the vandalism. It's a hard pill to swallow. And they had one sponsor that pretty much solicits herself. It's a real funny scene. You're gonna catch that. And we also have the iconic basketball game that takes place between the legendary Cold Crush Brothers and Grand Wizard Theodore and the Fantastic Five, where they pretty much rap throughout the whole basketball game. It's like a quasi-musical, but it wasn't corny. It was real fresh. I don't think today's MCs could do the same thing. And they had a couple of girls singing in the background, real groovy, real groovy. So basically, after they try to get legitimized in the Caucasian world, they get invited to do a show at the East River Amphitheater, which is closed now, which is tore down. They tore down the East River Amphitheater just this past New Year's. It's a very, very hard pill to swallow. Being a part of New York City is very difficult because they're tearing down all the legendary scenes, the iconic scenes that we all remember, that's been immortalized on film. So thank goodness we still have a representation on film of what used to be. So throughout the whole movie, you hear the sounds. There's no real soundtrack to this movie. There wasn't any hits out that was prominent. Of course, you had the Sugar Hill Gang with the Rapper's Delight. Then you have the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde records, the Harlem World records. But none of those records was featured on the film. This was totally like a whole nother, it was featuring mostly Grandmaster Caz, Busy Bee, and the members of the Fantastic Five. And pretty much is building up for the big showtime with the whole Rocksteady crew involved. So you have all the elements of hip hop all in one film, and you have the graffiti arts as the main star. It's pretty awesome. This is the first and only movie that features everybody real life counterparts to their aliases in the movie, with pretty much one actress throughout the movie, and Patty Astor. And she is the one that basically, in real life, opened up an art gallery in Lower East Side and featured the graph writers, everybody who I mentioned in the film, especially Jean-Michel Basquiat. He had his platform there. He sold out shows there. He had his exhibits there. He basically got the attention of Warhol after he started getting his buzz. And this is, 1982, 1983. So this movie pretty much came true. So this is more of a documentary. It's a fun film when you take it for what it is and what it was. You see all the old scenes of the Bronx, of how dilapidated New York City used to be under the direction of Ed Koch and the predecessors beforehand. They let the Bronx die. You see how gritty street life was. You see the stick-up kids. Like, it was no joke, pretty much. You had to be strong to survive in those days. So, I love the movie. It ends off with the concert at the now tore down East River Amphitheater. I had a chance to visit that theater one time to see DJ Premier versus Pete Rock in the Versus before there was a Versus. See, that inspired the Versus. That battle actually inspired Pharrell and Swiss Beats to do their battle. And it was awesome. It was an awesome experience, an experience that I will never forget, an experience that I'll tell my kids, my grandkids, and whatever kids is around about that famous amphitheater, which is tore down. Very upset about that. New York City is becoming dreary. The billionaires are tearing down the city, putting up skyscrapers, and just destroying the essence of what made New York City so great. It's pretty upsetting. But that's pretty much my synopsis about the movie. I hope you check it out. It's on YouTube. Go click on your YouTube, put in Wildstyle. The movie will come up. Enjoy the show. It doesn't really have a real cinematic flow to it, but all the scenes pretty much come together. I love it. And you should really have an open mind when you're watching it. It's pretty decent, and it was put together in 5 minutes by a proposal from Fab Five Freddy, and it's the first we see of Fab Five Freddy, who became a long-lasting hip-hop figure throughout the whole hip-hop generation. He never changed his look. His look is the same. You'll recognize that man. And as far as the graffiti artists, they became legitimate artists. So you could check out their works. You could put in their names. You can put in Lee Quiones. You could put in Lady Pink. These are real people. And appreciate the beginnings of early hip-hop as of 1981. Documented and frozen in time. And it makes, and what I like about the grittiness about the film is it captures the grittiness of the city. Nothing was polished. So check it out for yourself. Leave comments and like and subscribe. I'm gonna be doing more hip hop movies. The next movie is gonna be Beat Street. Yes. Stay tuned for Beat Street. We're gonna talk about that, and have a good night and peace. I'm out.